All right, so here we go. Today on the Tom Kelly Show, you know her from American Gladiators. You know her from her Instagram, her own podcast, Chillin With Ice, Lori Ice Fetrick. Let's start the show. Here we go. And there you go.
Everybody.
And then we judge. We always judge how the show's going to be based on whether they laugh or dance along. I at least got to laugh. And here we go. Content warning, spoiler alert. Someone get me my pugil stick. You are experiencing the Tom Kelly Show. I'm excited about this one, more excited than I should be. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know there's a thing about me. I'm a stand-up comedian getting back to having fun. And for those of you who have listened to me ramble personally, I have a joke in my stand-up act that kind of works, that I tend to fall for taller, athletic women who are questioning their sexuality. And I think it goes back to this woman right here. She was a part of my Saturday mornings every Saturday through high school and maybe even junior high. American Gladiators. She played ice or is ice. We'll get into that in a second. And yeah, so this is a podcast. We have a lot of people who listen to the show who are over 70 and may not have been around on Saturday mornings when I was in love with you. But my friend Paul and my brother Sal are gonna, it might be the only show I've ever done they're going to listen to. Ladies and gentlemen, Lori Ice Fetrick. I guess this is probably the dumbest question. I also need to say this to you. I'm a fan, not a stalker. So if I get anything wrong, don't be shy about correcting me. But I guess my first question for you is, if you had to explain American Gladiators to someone who's never seen it, how would you explain the show?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show.
I am so excited you're here.
Awesome intro.
Let's be very
Love the
clear.
intro.
Let's be very clear. I don't know if you're my first crush ever, but I
that you can remember.
No, I had a crush. Yeah, you know what? I've had a lot of media crushes, and you were definitely on the list at some point in my life. If I thought I would look good working out, I don't know. I tend to date girls who are athletic, and I'm like, the shrink always says, well, where does that go back to? And I'm like,
Don't you love that?
yeah, it did come up, and I'm like, could it have been American Gladiators when my brother was having sleepovers with his friend Paul? I don't know. Maybe. But it's funny because every time I try to describe American Gladiators, and I've seen one of the two documentaries out on it, I don't know how to describe it in a way that, I don't know the right words for it.
Okay. So let's go back to that time first and foremost. It was like crash TV. Is what we call it. Big hair. I mean, think of the 90s when anything and everything kind of went, right? We were all looking for, give me something that is going to shock me maybe, or, something along those lines. So what they did is they thought, okay, let's take 5 girls and 5 guys, and we're going to create some really crazy games. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a United States search, and we're going to interview thousands and thousands of people to be contestants to go up against these gladiators. Now, these gladiators, they're muscular, they're fast, they're larger than life characters. Some people would say superheroes, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're going to create these crazy games, and the gladiators are always going to have more of an advantage because they're the faster, more muscular one. But yet at the same time, you can be that weekend warrior that can go up against them and see and test your strength, test your ability, see if you could get hit in the head with a big old pugil stick and stand up there on that platform.
Okay, see, and this is why I'm glad I had you describe it. I was going to describe every way I would say it, it would sound almost douchey. I was going to be like, regular people fight bodybuilders, but it was more than that.
And some of the gladiators, like in the very first 13 episodes, they actually gave them characters. And so they wanted, Nitro to be really cocky, and they wanted him to have this persona. And then they had, Zap, and Zap had another persona, and she had another character. Well, by the time I actually came on the show, they realized that kind of didn't work. And so therefore they're like, just be yourself. And this is why we hired you, and went through 3 months of a rigorous, tryout for the show. We know you can do this, but you're going to have your own personality, your own persona, and we're going to call you Ice, you know? And
So, and it's funny, when I distinctly remember this conversation with my buddy Paul. I remember Paul saying, I hate it when they're all sportsmanship. Like, he liked the pro wrestling angry vibe, which always made me feel icky. And then you're right, the show became kind of nice. Like, okay, that you're my athletic buddy is what it sort of evolved to. And I always liked that version better. I always hated the season 1 episodes or whatever it was where you'd have Gemini staring into the TV like, you know, like he was Mr. T and being mean. I kind of like people, you know,
I was the one that would go out and completely kick your ass and then smile, shake your hand and say, let's go have a drink.
Okay. And is that you in real life?
Yes.
Okay.
That is me.
Because it's funny, we were talking about that as being like, that sort of came up as one of the things we were talking about in the pre-interview a minute before we started the show. Was it's weird that a show gives you a nickname or a new name, even a code name, because I don't think they ever used your full name in any of the graphics or anything like that.
Like, our full names weren't even in the credits.
Really?
No, they didn't even give us our credit name at all.
Okay. Were you SAG-AFTRA actors at that point?
We were AFTRA. That was before they merged.
That's right. Okay. And that's me too.
Yeah.
I joke about my SAG card. I got it when the unions merged.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it. And now I get free DVDs.
I think I got my SAG card when Who's the Boss wanted to hire 2 gladiators for one of their birthday parties with Tony Danza. And it was like, we want Ice and Nitro. And then I remember they gave me a line and Nitro was so pissed off. Because they gave me the line and not him, and he's like, "I'm the actor," you know, and I was just like, "Whatever."
So, so I guess that's a great question. So, who were you before Ice?
I was a bodybuilder. I was competing. I was actually competing in bodybuilding. I wanted to get my pro card. I mean, that's where I thought I wanted to go. So I was already going through the levels of bodybuilding, and I was at the national level. You have to pass once you hit the national level. If you win the nationals, you get your pro card and do the Miss Olympia. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. But at that point in time, I had already done 2 nationals, and then the Gladiators came along and I was like, I'm out. Let's go do Gladiators. This is going to be so much fun.
What, did you think it was going to be fun?
Oh, like, yeah.
Going crazy for
100%.
It's a Saturday show. There's no long-term commitments. It's
well, let me give you some more clarity in how crazy insane this is. Okay. We had no insurance at all. We signed our life away. Okay.
You had to do one of those disclaimers that if you got brain injury, you can't sue them type of
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if we lost a limb, we couldn't go after and sue them. We signed our life away. In our contract, the word in perpetuity was there. And I'd say 99% of us didn't even know what the word meant.
Now, stereotypes aside, because I'm going to try to get to know you a little bit better here, did you know what perpetuity meant at that point? Did you know?
I sure did not. Absolutely not.
And because I'm falling in love all over again.
The other thing is that the reality of it is if we didn't sign it, the next girl behind me in line, she had signed it.
And welcome to stand-up comedy.
Welcome to
life, I guess. Yeah.
That's just the way it is across the board.
But it's funny, and you're right. And you're now a TV union, you're a member, if that. And they don't know what to do for an athletic competition.
None. And even let's get better. Okay. So no insurance. The pay rate sucked. As I just said, I was AFTRA. So we were on the bottom scale.
Can I ask you, what were you making a show? Were you making minimum?
Minimum. I think it was like $400 a show at that time. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Crazy. They owned our character. They owned everything. We couldn't go out and do things without their permission. And half the time they didn't want to give us permission because they wanted 50% of our pay. Oh, it was insane. It was, and 30 years later, and this is what's even more funny about the whole story is 30 years later, when we want to do things, like we go out and do signings at Comic-Cons and everything like that, we have the owner of the brand, the logo brand, American Gladiators. We have him sending us and knocking down our door, sending us cease and desist letters. You can't use your name. You can't use the logo. You can't do this. It's hysterical. It really is.
Yeah. Wow. let's put a pin on that for a second. You're a bodybuilder, right? You do this crazy show. Who were you before you became the bodybuilder? Were you always the athletic girl growing up?
I was always the athletic girl. I had just I came out of high school. I tried to go to college. I couldn't do that. My grades weren't great. Because I was an athlete. I just wanted to play. That's all I wanted to do.
You were always the pretty jock.
I was always the jock. I can't say pretty. I was kind of dorky back then.
Were you? Okay.
Yeah. I was a dorky kid. I was.
So you were dorky and then just started lifting weights? Like, because bodybuilding is a weird sport to pick.
It is. And it's not even, I never even considered it a sport, to be quite honest with you. It was more something that I did on my lunch hour when I was sitting in the back doing accounting, like when I was, 21, 22 years old as a job. And I was like, oh my God, I got to do something on my lunch hour. Let's go to the gym. Let's do something, I actually got introduced to weights from my high school basketball coach. She took all of us in the weight room. She was our basketball coach, volleyball coach, and softball coach. Took us, we were first place every single year, and she trained our ass off. She would take us in the weight room, and that was my first introduction to weights. And then I realized, this is cool. You can change your body. You can mold your body to be whatever you want it to be. So
how old were you when you had that realization?
25.
Okay, so older then at that point, Yeah, like it's and so so is that old for being a bodybuilder? I mean, that's a dumb question, but
not kind of sort of. I mean, usually they start like around in their early 20s, 21, 22. So by the time you're 25, you have some shows under your belt. You're actually moving and grooving. And yeah, I'm not going to say it's old, but you're kind of on that,
like when you were doing Miss Olympia, were there younger competitors against you, or were you in the ballpark?
Well, I never went to Miss Olympia. That was like the pro level. But if I were to go at that point in time, I would have been 28. And I'm going to say they were all around 25 to 31-ish, right in there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, like, I know people who go into bodybuilding and they're always coming off of a crazy insecurity, or they just love lifting weights. Were you coming off a crazy insecurity, or you were just a jock?
I was just a jock looking for something to do.
Okay.
I really was. Like I said, I played softball, basketball, everything growing up. And there wasn't women's sports back then. I'm really going to date myself, but there wasn't. I mean, honestly, there was nothing that a female could go into pro level unless you were a golfer or a tennis player. And I was like, well.
Okay. Yeah. I'm struggling to think.
Exactly.
There was no WNBA
back then. There was no WNBA back then. There was no, literally there was nothing for females. I mean,
like if we're ranking sports, which brings us back to how we know you, is it really women's tennis, women's golf, and then American Gladiators are the three things that you can do?
That was my choice.
So here you are, you're accidentally now, or not even accidentally, but unplanned, you're now on the third most athletic thing a woman can do in the early 1990s.
Yeah.
Yep. How did you tape the show?
We taped the show, we did 2 shows a day. So we filmed 21 shows within a 6-week period. And then we were done the rest of the year. They went in, they slammed the shows down because they did back to back. What they would do is they'd film 2 shows at a time because the events were so big and they had bulky to, set them up and do all that kind of stuff. Once they set something up, they would film 2 shows at a time.
Okay. So now this is now TV production nerd comes in. You get you're fighting with the pugil sticks. What do we call that one?
The joust.
The joust. Okay, you're jousting. They would do 2 shows worth of joust while the set's up.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then they would break that set down, and there'd be a time, and then they would do the eliminator, 2 eliminators.
Now, the eliminator was always at the end because that was the final finale for all shows.
Okay.
So that was always set up at the very end, and throughout the show, it was the joust, it was the pyramid, slingshot, breakthrough and conquer, Powerball, all these different events. So that's how they did the production of the show. And that way they got more out of us. So it was a lot of hurry up, sit around and wait.
No, and now as a warm-up comedian, did you have a warm-up comedian? Because I would have been.
We
Who
did.
was it? I want his job.
I have no idea. I could see his face, man. I see his face, and I can't remember his name.
It's just a reminder that I don't matter, Lori. Look at what you just did. Oh, that's all I want. I wanted you to say it was this guy and I was in love with him. Oh my God. Oh, I feel like my career is.
Here's the thing. The very first 13 episodes, there wasn't any at all. Then I think the second and third season, I think they brought somebody in because the audience started getting antsy.
Yeah.
Through the changing of the actual games.
Okay. So I'm going to bring the interview back to you because I think that's what we're really here for. Not just not just an unnamed warm-up comedian from 1993, but
I know if you were to go, dude, that was me.
Yeah. Should I have done that?
No way.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember? Hey, I gave you my phone number. Why didn't you call me back? Whatever. So I got story. We have, I'm going to get to it later, but we have worked with people in common. I worked with, actually only one. I can only name one, but I worked on the Newlywed Game with a guy named Bob who directed your show. I can't remember Bob's last name, but he comes up in the documentary. And you know what? Pause. Okay, and Bob Levy, and you do not have to say anything that will risk me from working again at that point. I know he was a little crazy in the documentary with who he was dating and who he wasn't, and whether or not that was true or whether or not it wasn't.
We still don't know.
Well, he said, like, when I got introduced to him, I think I said at this point, he's like, oh, he worked on American Gladiators. And I'm like, oh, I really like Diamond. And then he goes, yeah, I dated her. And I'm like, that crush is over now. I can't respect her ever again.
Exactly. Because once you see Bob Levy, you're like, oh, dear God.
And I think that's how he had what he has on his business card. I worked at American Gladiators and I might have dated Diamond. Yeah, I might have dated Diamond. Which, you know what, I'm sure I would put on my business card too. But anyway, back to you. 2 shows a day. I mean, you're not doing every single event, but that had to be hard on the body, jammed in.
Oh, no, it was difficult. I mean, in some of the games, I mean, Human Cannonball, that was another one we all hated. But it's like, if you got possibly injured on one of the games, that was the other thing. If you got injured and you hobbled around, they'd pull you. If they pulled you, you didn't get paid. So needless to say, we went out there with injury after injury. And I remember I tore a small meniscus in my knee. And they're like, if we see you hobbling around, we're going to pull you from the show. That night, I went to the doctor and got cortisone shot in my knee, pumped it all up, got it feeling great, finished out the season. Because, I mean, that's how crazy it was.
Yeah, and listen, that's like you just said a few minutes ago, it's not just being a gladiator, that's being an entertainer.
Yeah.
You know, I have been afraid of getting COVID, you know, and let's just call it a bad flu for the rest of this story so that we were not politicizing anything. But I had a positive test for a bad flu literally 7 days before working with the Prince and Princess of Wales. And I'm just like, geez. I managed to get in just barely legally time-wise, but I'm like, they're not going to recreate that experience for me. They're not going to recreate that exposure for me. And you're doing a season's worth of shows in a week.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, and you're getting
fun though. It was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was a blast. Then again, I mean, we were all young. We were late 20s. So our bodies were still like, we could heal quickly. But all those little bumps and bruises and everything that we did back then is where we feel it today.
Do you feel it? Do you feel this stuff?
Oh God, yeah.
That kind of makes me feel better about not pursuing my dreams of being a gladiator. So let's hit a few real questions here. It was a crazy party at the time.
Yes.
Okay. You were gay at a time where there was no gay people out on television. I say this as a man who worked for many years for Rosie O'Donnell, who was not out. Ellen was not out yet, even though, and I find a great irony in that you were making out with a man on Ellen before Ellen started talking about whether or not Ellen was gay.
100%. And that's the funny thing. We were fighting over a guy that
Two gay women fighting over a guy.
exactly. And it should have, and today it would have been the reversal. It would have been like her and I hooking up probably. But no, back then it was hysterical how we all knew that.
Well, we all knew. And then what I kind of liked out of the documentary, and one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of talk to you was, it was one of those things like, it wasn't a secret amongst your friends, right?
Correct. It wasn't a secret amongst my friends, my family, the Gladiators, the production company. It was, you know, even at that point in time, my manager was like, hush, hush, don't say a word, don't go out, don't be seen, don't do this, don't bring your girlfriends here, don't bring your girlfriends. It was just like, it was insane.
Actually, and can I ask you that one for real? Like, here you are, you're now famous. You're not in the closet. Like, and Rosie was like this too. Rosie would talk about her friend Kelly, and
I know, right? Our roommates.
yeah. I mean, and it's funny because like I love gay people my age and older because I think they grew up a little weirder. And you know what I mean? Or not weird, but with something. And whereas these happy gay kids who are younger than me, screw them and their joy. But for you, like I guess that's the question is, how do you handle being in love or having a significant other when you can't let them be a part of your joy publicly?
Well, here's the thing. This is a quote from my sister. My sister tells me, she goes, "You're the most normal gay person I've ever met." So and I was like, what does that mean? So I think back then, I actually this is where I could probably use it in therapy. And that is, I actually found it more exciting that my private life was my private life and nobody knew about it. I found that more exciting and intriguing than to throw it out there in public and throw it in everybody's face. It was more of a secret, and that secret was exciting.
Okay, whereas now it's
go
like,
ahead and therapize, go ahead and take me in therapy in that one.
whereas now in 2024, it's like, well, why haven't you posted any pictures of your significant other today, huh? You know, like
I get it. I get it all the time. I get my girlfriend now. She's like, are you gonna post a picture? Are you gonna post? We're on vacation. She goes, when are you gonna post a picture? And I'm like, okay, you know.
Well, and it's not like, it's funny, like it's not official until you're on their feed. You know, that's a status symbol for some people nowadays, especially the kids younger than us.
I personally have never been that person. I think even if I were straight and had a boyfriend, I probably still wouldn't have flaunted him around and taken him everywhere with me. I don't know. I'm just not that person.
Okay.
You know, I don't mind PDA. I actually enjoy it. But yet at the same time, it's kind of like that part of my life was a secret. But now here's the funny thing. Flip it around and tell me I can't do something, then it just pisses me off and I want to do it even more.
And how did you handle that then? You just rolled with it?
I had to roll with it because it came from producers.
Yeah.
It really did. And it was just like, this is going to hurt your career, you know? And so that's what they always held over my head. This is going to hurt your career. Do not come out. It's not going to be accepted. So it did twist you in a way to where it did piss you off. Yeah. But at the same time, there was nothing you could really do about it. And the last thing I'm going to do is stand up on my soapbox and, you know, wave my flag around saying, hey, I'm gay. And everybody's going to be like, okay, you have no more career anymore. Bye-bye. So it's just like, okay, we'll let that go by the wayside right now. Yeah. And just deal with it. But the biggest thing was, don't tell me. I already know. I know the rules, but don't shove it down my throat. That was the thing with me.
Now, you did Gladiator for what, 5 out of the 7 years? And I'm getting the numbers wrong here.
It was about 5 or 6 out of the 7. Yeah, I missed a season.
You missed the first season, or you missed the last season? And who's that dog?
I know, right? April. Okay. Sorry, my solar's not working, and we have a solar man coming in.
Well, that's. am I screwing up? Is the power about to cut out?
No, not at all. No, not at all. Okay, so hit pause for 5 seconds. Yeah. I'm gonna grab her.
Go. So if I were the kind of podcast that had commercials, God damn it, I should start getting them. That would have been a great spot to put it.
Exactly.
So the cool gimmick about my podcast has been, or it's what it started as, and I'm not trying to whine on it, but you hit this point where Gladiators comes to an end. You go on tour, your body is beaten to hell, you're not making the money you should have made. Other people are making money off your work and not sharing the wealth. What does your life look like the day after season 7?
Is season 7 where it ends?
Yeah, but the moment when you say, because I'm going through, and listen, if it's, I hope I'm not being too personal, but I'm going
go
through
ahead.
this sort of stage with my career, myself, with I was doing a lot of work, and right now production's smaller. I'm not opening for TV shows. My stand-up is not as busy as I'd like it to be. I'm feeling like, I'm not projecting this on you, but I'm wondering, shit, was those my glory days? Teaching people how to clap for other shows, or is there more? Did you go through anything like that, or what was your?
I'm still going through it. What are you talking about?
Okay,
I'm still going through it with you.
Good.
I'm there with you.
I kind of was hoping you had the cure.
I wish I did, because I was listening to you going, is there a cure?
Yeah.
And you know what it is after season 7, we actually did a live show in Orlando. So that bought me like about 6 more months of Gladiator time.
Okay.
And we were doing a live show down in Orlando. So that was like on a nightly thing. I'd go for a month, I'd work a month, come home a month, because I didn't want to move down there. So after that, 6 months, they put the chains on the doors. And that's when we went, I think this is it.
Wait, is that how you found out you got laid off?
Yeah. Yes.
See,
I love the entertainment industry.
But what I love about your show, and what I love about the documentary about your show, is it's one part television and then it's one part dirty club comedy. You know,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, and like entertainer, like I have another friend who always compares it to being in a bar or a dirty restaurant, but it really is. You're one part high-end Saturday TV show, and then it's one part like, oh my God, is this being sponsored by the Russian mob?
Well, and then here's the worst part about it. Back then, we were having the time of our life, having a blast, but yet we all wanted to further our career, but they didn't know what to do with us. Are they athletes? Are they actors? Where do we put them? So it was a really weird transition. And then, here's the fun part. No, don't get me wrong. I might bitch a little bit about different things, but I had a blast the entire time. But after it was all over, what hit was reality TV. They didn't want anybody that's already been on television, if you remember right.
Yeah.
They all wanted the husband, wife, brother, sister, the teams, all these normal people to do reality TV, And so whenever I tried to do anything, they're like, oh no, you have already been on television. We don't want you.
So you went back to LA and you're pursuing the acting, I have an agent route at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nothing's coming through.
Nothing, little tiny bit parts here and there. And I was just like, wow, this is just not going to happen. So to be honest with you, I went into business. I opened up my own fitness facility down in Orlando, Florida.
Right.
I had a big ass gym down there. I was bartending at night as I was working, getting it together.
But now wait, hang on. This is like, pause for a minute. You're glossing through wonderfully powerful nuggets there. You were fucking ice. But you were like every kid born between 1970 and 1982 is in love with you, or you're a part of their youth, and you're tending bar in O-Town.
In O-Town with a cowboy hat on.
Did people know who you were?
Yes, they did. I had to swallow that pride like you would not believe, because they're like, what are you doing here? I just saw you on television. Why are you bartending?
But that's how little Gladiators paid, that you weren't just coasting on residuals at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I know.
And you were not just a bartender. You weren't just like the good-looking celebrity bartender, go buy drinks from the working guy over there. You had to serve the damn drink and get the order right.
I was that girl. Absolutely.
Did you like time?
Let's put it this way. I'm a survivor. I'm a worker. I am just gonna there's no doubt. Everything that I do is like, okay, how do we get to the next level? I'm still at my age right now. How do we get to the next level?
Okay. But what I like about you, so from watching the documentary, and correct me if I'm insulting your coworkers, if I am, but it sure seems like you have the best outlook out of the group.
Oh, thank you.
Is that fair and not hurting anybody else's feelings?
I think you're about right. Absolutely. I mean, there's a few of us, myself, Nitro, Laser, Tower. we all have a pretty good grip on reality, you know. We all still want to further our career if we can in some sort of way. But yeah, we all have a pretty good positive outlook towards it.
Okay, and I guess this is like, especially since you have a solar repairman in the building. If I were going to ask the nugget question I've wanted to ask you for about 6 weeks here is, what is your secret inside to plowing through the transition of coming down on the other side of the mountain and being useful and finding the new Lori versus Ice?
Fucking never quit.
See, I hate that. I hate that slogan because
I know, but I just don't, dude. I don't. Every day I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what can I do? I don't care if it's 1 phone call, 2 phone calls, meet someone, do something towards getting to where I want to go. And with this attitude, okay, I will say this. Finally, okay, now think about it. Went from high school, athlete, right? Went into bodybuilding, just wanted to be pro. Why did I want to be pro? I wanted to be on magazine covers. I wanted to do endorsements. I wanted to do, you know, all these product placement things. I wanted to do these things. And then that didn't happen. So I went to Gladiators. And then all the, you know, all the endorsements and everything never happened for Gladiators because they always wanted ice. Well, we couldn't use ice.
yeah.
They wanted ice, but they couldn't use it because I was a gladiator. Okay. So then I trudged through all of that, keep moving. Literally 3 months ago, 3 months ago at my age, I got a signed full endorsement with V-Shred. Everything I've ever wanted in my entire life.
Okay.
And that's why I say I've never quit.
Okay.
I've just, like, constantly moved.
Well, you know what? We got to make money where we can make money. What is V-Shred? Sell it, shill it, my friend.
V-Shred is a fitness nutritional app. It's a company. It's been around for 5 to 6 years. It's the easiest, simplest system that anybody can use. There's 3 body types: skinny, middle of the road, or overweight. What do you want to do with your body? They have the answers. They've got the app. They've got the nutrition. It's super simple. I absolutely love it. And there's a lot of apps out there. And this is the one 5 years ago when I saw it, I'm like, the guy's brilliant. I swear to God, I said that. I said, this guy is brilliant. Whoever did this, it's super simple. It's easy. We're not reinventing the wheel. Met him at dinner with Dr. Drew. And they go, hey, we'd like to have a conversation with you in about a week. And I was like, let's do this. And next thing I know, they're like, we want you to endorse women over 40 for our product line. I'm like, yes.
And there you go. And then on top of that, because I think we're glossing over some of your other successes, you're still a trainer. Where in Florida are you?
I'm not in Florida. I'm in Los Angeles, California.
You're in LA. Okay.
Yeah. I actually don't do training anymore. I mean, I was a personal trainer for years. I still keep my certificate. You know, I got all that stuff. I was in real estate. I sold life insurance. I mean, dude, I did everything to survive.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and there you go. And it's endorsing V-Shred is the big thing right now.
Yep. And it's so much fun because of the fact that, you know, I get paid to train.
Okay.
And this is something that it's just like you're a comedian. Once you get paid to do something you absolutely love, you're like, score, I made it. For me, same thing. I'm getting paid to train. And that's how I kind of felt when I was in Gladiators, you know, and all that work beforehand, all that bodybuilding, building the body to where I wanted the body to be. I actually got hired for the body, you know? Yeah. So that's why I'm saying I've never quit. Even through the years. I mean, I know some of the Gladiators have stopped training a little bit. Some of them have gotten soft. They just went, screw this, I'm done. I literally never stopped going to the gym and eating clean and being healthy because it was just my lifestyle is really what it came down to.
Oh my God. I could do a whole second podcast with you on that.
Yeah, and we should.
We should. How about that? Let's leave this at a point. I promised Beatrice half an hour with you. Okay. But would you come back and we'll do that one?
Absolutely. I would absolutely love to do that.
All right.
And here's the second thing. The other thing is I was going to say it off air, but I'm going to say it on air because I want to hold you to it. I want you on my podcast.
I'm right now.
I want to interview you and find out about your life. Your life is obviously intriguing to me.
It's intriguing. It's a mess. It's funny. Like the things I really want to talk to you about too are just things like, mindset in transition. I could go for hours about, you just said something about the gladiators that I totally identify with is like, I've joked that if I had guaranteed results for working out, I'd work out a lot more, you know, like, like the stand-up joke that isn't quite working is, if I didn't get my dream girl when I was 20 pounds skinnier, at least I can have Ben and Jerry's. I could have my threesome with Ben and Jerry every night.
Right, exactly.
I'm fighting my ice cream addiction. I could go for hours. I could go for hours on this. Like I've just spent
I could go for hours with you.
I've just spent a month of exercising and I'm down 1 effing pound.
Oh my God, we could talk about that all day long.
So if we have hours on
dissect what you're doing, how you're doing it, and probably fix it like that.
There you go. Well, you know what? Listen, if I had the incentive of having you as my neighbor and friend, I'm sure I'd have muscles. I'm sure I would. I would have less of a pot belly. So listen, you and I are committed to doing something else, and I'll let you off the hook on this one. Where can they find you? Where do you want all my fans to go follow you at?
I want all your fans to go follow me on my Instagram, my TikTok, and Instagram is lori.ice.fetrick. And my TikTok is the exact same, LORI.ice, Fetrick. Usually once you put Lori Ice, it pops up. My website is lorifetrick.com. I've got my Chillin With Ice, absolutely. Spotify, anywhere where you hear your podcast. That was fun. I got all my gladiators. I interviewed all the gladiators. That's how my podcast started.
I've listened to a couple of them. I listened to the one today. I was listening to the one you did with the original creator of Gladiators.
Oh.
Could it be a guy named Dan?
That was Dan, Dan Carr.
There you go. Well, nice to know that I know your podcast better than you. There you go.
I know I'm a Dan Nitro. What was that? I'm so in the, every time I hear Dan, I think Nitro,
Oh, there you go. There you go. It's funny. Actually, what do people, so stupid one, do you get mad when people call you Ice?
Oh, absolutely not.
No?
Most of the people, they don't remember my first name and they'll be like, that's Ice, They've seen me in the gym for 25 years and all they know me is by Ice. They don't even know my first name.
And I guess that's the last one. So, and I think this is a beautiful ending is Ice and Lori are the same person?
They are the same person. I might turn it on a little bit more when I was on Gladiators.
Okay. I love it.
All right. I will tell you this, and I want to end with this, is I do have a children's book coming out and it's called The Playground Warriors. And it is amazing. It's cute. It's adventurous. It's fun. It's about exercise as well. We're putting an animation to it. So theplaygroundwarriors.com. It's also on YouTube.
Wait, say that last, the Playground Wars or Wares?
Warriors.
Warriors. Okay. Wow.
Warriors. Yes. I couldn't use the American Gladiators. So come on, I had to use the Warriors.
Warrior. Oh God. Yeah. Because if you use the word gladiator, you're paying who owns the rights to Gladiators now?
There's a gentleman who owns the trademark. And anything that has to do with the name of the trademark, he will send a cease and desist. And I don't even like saying his name. Do I need
No, don't tell me his name. But do you think I'm going to get a letter? Because that'll be exciting.
No, not at all. It's only if you decided to hire me for a Comic-Con and I was going to go sign in my uniform and then they might get a cease and desist.
But, let a girl make a buck. Let a girl make a buck.
I know. Let everybody eat.
Gee. All right, folks, listen, if you're new to the podcast, if you came just because of Lori, do me a favor. Share this episode with people who like it. And obviously, I am Tom Kelly Show on every form of social media, including Venmo. I am working for tips. That's a new one.
I need to say that from now on. What am I doing wrong?
Venmo, you know what's funny? I once told a crowd my Venmo name as a joke. And I got, let's say, if it was a crowd of 5,000, I got 30 people sent me like anywhere between $1 and a penny going down. And then the funnier was I probably got another 30 people who requested money from me. Because you could do that with Venmo too.
I'm never going to get that hour of my life back.
Yeah, and then you're just, all I want to do is just clear the board, and I have to do it one by one. Boop, boop. And like the first 5 were funny, and then it's like, dick.
Exactly.
All right, folks, until next time, good night, Los Angeles.